Alright, chapter 4.4 is graphing a function rule. This was for my class last year because people weren't doing what they were supposed to do. So it doesn't have anything to do with you. Today's lesson again is pretty direct. Be sure to get into your range of understanding. Afterwards, be sure to review your past notes so you strengthen your skill set as we prepare for the test. Again, this chapter itself is pretty straightforward, but you've got to make sure that you are really preparing for it because it's such a weird mix of things. Again, we've discussed linear versus nonlinear. We've discussed the thing where you say as this increases, something else decreases. We've used y equals mx plus b. We've used a table to identify a x squared or x to the third pattern. We've been all over the place. And so if you don't try to make sure you remember this stuff, that test is probably going to catch you off guard. Now again, the quiz is easy enough because it's just 2 sections worth of material. And it's easy enough to remember that and kind of put all that together. But when we take the test, it's going to be everything put together and making sure you know what's going on. So how does this relate to information we've learned so far? We've learned to analyze a set of ordered pairs and create a rule to represent them. Today we'll create a visual representation of the values, although we will not actually will graph the rules today. So other than that, yeah, I guess I'm lying a lot in this thing. 2 types of graphs, which are continuous and discrete. This is material that you need to know, but it's not so much for the test. A continuous graph is based on a situation where the independent variable moves at a fluent rate. What does that mean? It means that if your weight was here at one point, that it would slowly increase to be here and slowly increase to be here. Someone does not go from 10 pounds to 13 pounds without hitting 11 pounds and 12 pounds. Even at that, without hitting 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, 10.30001, all those numbers in there mean that it's constantly moving up and it's constantly moving. Height and distance are the same thing. You don't go from 5'1" to 5'2" without hitting the range in between 5'1" and 5'2". It doesn't just jump up to there. So a continuous, pretty much the easiest way for me to remember continuous is if you can have decimal values and other weird values to kind of transition in between, then it's going to be continuous. A discrete graph is based on a situation where the independent variable moves in steps. And so number of people, number of days needed to complete a project. You don't go from 1 to 1.5 people. There's no such thing as 1.5 people. It would obviously go from 1 to 2. It would then go from 2 to 3 and from 3 to 4 and so on again. So you are jumping from 1 up to 2. From 2 up to 3, you're skipping over a whole range of things. And so that's what's making it what it is. Number of days needed to complete a project. I know people say 1.5, but in all honesty, you would say it took 1 day or 2 days or 3 days or 4 days. Anything like that, again, is going to be discrete. So again, you don't need to know that, but it's good for you to kind of have in mind because at some point it will come back into play about something being discrete versus something being continuous and knowing the difference between those things. You will be making a graph rule or a table of values. Once we make the table, you simply just plot the points. Just be sure again that the values make sense. So again, I will just tell you that you typically start at 0 for what we're going to be doing, and if you don't start at 0, you're going to be missing almost every question because I programmed these myself, and unless it gives you the numbers, you're going to miss it. So like I said, start at 0 on all these things. But it says the height of a plant after a certain number of days is represented by a rule. What does the table look like? And graph the function. So what you would do is your table is a basic XY table. And again, I would just do 3 or 4, however many blanks there are, but 4 should work for me. But again, the easiest thing to do is start with x equals 0 and just count your way up. Then you take that number and plug it in. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 4, which would be 4. There you go. Then 2 times 1 plus 4, which would be 2 times 1, which is 2 plus 4, or 6, using the order of operations. Then 2 times 2 plus 4, which is 4 plus 4, or 8. And 2 times 3 plus 4, which is 6 plus 4, or 10. Now what's interesting is you see that that's plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, but remember that is your m. Y equals mx plus b, so it does make sense that it would increase by 2. And it wants to know what the graph looks like. When you have to graph this online, you only need to plot really the first 2 points, your 0 and your 1. So 0, 4 means go up 4, So when you do that, you'll go up 4 and put a point. And on this MathXL, you just simply move up to the next spot, which is 1/6, so 1/6 up. And once you plot that second point, it already makes the line. But again, on paper, this is how you would do it. We pretty much are going to get the same thing, 2 up, 1 over, 2 up, 1 over. Typically, because it is linear, it's going to make a line, and that is what we are looking at in general. Okay. Now, for the actual functionality of the question, which is talking about the height of a plant, you wouldn't need this negative part because that would be a negative x. But again, for the sake of just understanding what's going on, that's pretty much what you're looking at. So main thing again, practice it, make sure you're ready for it, and make sure you know what's going on. Profit number of candy cells is represented by the rule 2x minus 5. What does the table look like? What's the function look like? Again, all you have to do is make a XY chart. Give me about 4 of them. Again, start with x equals 0, about 4 numbers. If I were to put a 0 right here, 2 times 0 minus 5 is 0 minus 5, or negative 5. 2 times 1 minus 5 is 2 minus 5, or negative 3. 2 times 2 minus 5 is 4 minus 5, or negative 1. 2 times 3 minus 5 is 6 minus 5, or 1. And so there we are. But again, when you go to graph that on MathXL, you do not need to plot all those. You actually can't plot all those. You just need 2 of them. So just plot the first 2. 0, negative 5 means go down 5. 1, negative 3 means over 1, down 3. And again, you could plot the rest of them, but honestly, once you plot those 2, because we know it is linear, it's going to make the line, and it's going to finish it off that way. All right. In general, again, we're going to get a chance to put all this together. Just be sure to keep reviewing your old notes so you don't forget information from the past. There are a lot of different things, remember, from this chapter, and you need to be sure you know exactly what's expected of you in each problem. Again, there's going to be some weird things popping up, and since we are moving at 2 lessons per week, it is a good time for you to just make sure you kind of review your notes, look over them again, and make sure you're not forgetting what's going on, even if it's just to go back to your old homework assignments and hitting similar problem on some of those things, or looking over the quiz that you took and trying to see if you can do better, and even making up that quiz. Remember, you can make up your quizzes 2 times and get a higher grade. So just make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do to improve and be ready for this stuff. But other than that, good luck. There is no notes on this because, again, it was pretty straightforward.